Welcome to Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
From his roots in retail automotive to his bold push for policy reform, former car dealer turned U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno is uniquely positioned to speak to the challenges and opportunities facing our industry. Today, we'll be talking about everything from EV mandates to tariffs and what's in the one big beautiful bill that could reshape the future for American automakers and dealers for that matter. So welcome, Senator Bernie Moreno. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule there in D.C. to join us on CBT News.
I'm happy to be here, Jim. Thank you so much.
Sure. So talk to us a little bit about the one big beautiful bill that you were successful in D.C. in getting passed. What are the key points in that matter most to the auto industry?
So first and foremost, the most important part is we kept bonus appreciation and we prevented a $4 trillion tax increase. So had this bill not passed, rates would have gone up for every single auto dealer in America by a lot. Yeah. So this kept rates stable and we made them permanent. The other piece is the wealth tax. The 15 million per couple exception, per person exception, 30 million per couple. Mm-hmm. That's now also permanent and indexed for inflation. Bonus depreciation. So you need a new lift, a new piece of equipment, you're expanding your building. You can depreciate the entirety of that 100% in this tax year, and that's also permanent. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That's going to put more money in your employees' pockets and your customers' pockets, and then a $2,200 child tax credit. That's really, really important. But Jim, there's one thing I really want to talk to car dealers about today. Mm-hmm. There's something called Trump accounts. So the federal government's going to put $1,000 in an index fund retroactive to January 1st of this year, mm-hmm. that you can add up to $5,000 per year. So when that baby is now a 25 or 30-year-old, you have another nest egg, buy a car, put a down payment on a home. Sure. I would ask that car dealers consider matching that $1,000 for their employees, so that if any of your employees have a baby, the federal government puts in $1,000, you put in $1,000. A great employee retention tool would be a great signal to send to your employees that you really care about their families.
Yeah, no question about it. What kind of long-term changes do you hope the one big beautiful bill will drive within the U.S. auto manufacturing and innovation area?
Well, massive regulatory reform, massive energy reform. So we're going to drive down the price of energy. We're going to encourage more car companies to build here in the U.S. That's a huge opportunity because, again, we need customers. And these are good, high-paying jobs. So we're going to have a lot more, not only auto factories here, but tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, et cetera. But now we have trade certainty, we have tariff certainty, we have regulatory relief, banking regulation is massively been improved. And then we just passed the most comprehensive housing bill in the history of Congress. And it got passed, by the way, 24-0 out of committee. So full bipartisan support, wow. Which is really great. It's going to make housing more affordable. So we've got a lot of great things. And then let's just recap the fact that California no longer can set a different set of emissions. We got rid of this EV madness. No more, hey, you got to get, in order to get that one car that sells, you got to take these 9 electric cars that don't sell.
Exactly.
None of that, it's all gone. Make sure you do not have a single solitary EV in inventory by September 30th. Mobilize your sales force to get rid of those things because October 1st, a different era.
Right. If you were a dealer again today, would you be ordering more EVs to stock up for this big push?
No, you got to be really, watch your market. Like in my case, look, Ohio, 2 people out of 100 bought EVs. Yeah. But if you're in LA or Boston or New York, maybe it's a little bit different, but you just got to be really careful because, these subsidies were driving a big chunk of the market, especially lease payments. Sure. Honda's got a great EV, but that $7,500 lowered that monthly payment a lot. So you just got to be really, really careful. The $4,000 used car EV subsidy, dealers need to be careful about that one. That also goes away September 30th. Make sure your finance offices are very well run. You should do that anyway. But in terms of understanding how that credit gets claimed, because you don't want to eat these credits if you give them incorrectly. So just watch out for that. We're sitting here, call it July 31st. You have August, you have September, you have 60 days left to really sell these vehicles and get mobilized.
That's right. That's right. What do you say to the dealer that says, I've been selling EVs and the tax credits have been a big plus, and I'm not so sure this might have been the right move? What do you say to those dealers that are concerned about losing that?
Well, look, should the federal government be subsidizing one powertrain over another? Like, why would taxpayers pay for somebody to get $7,500 for a car. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And it came at great cost though, because what was happening is everybody was losing. This is like Vegas where the dealer gets blackjack, everybody loses. The car companies weren't making money on EVs. They were losing their minds financially on EVs. Dealers were losing money on EVs. That had to be made up somehow. So we charged more for internal combustion engine cars, plus the California waivers that made car companies have to make really two different kinds of cars. All that has to settle down and lower the price of automobiles. So we're working with some car companies to figure out a path to get a lower price car. My dream is a reimagined Model T that I call it a Model T for the 21st century, a sub $20,000 small SUV made in America. Comes one way.
That's right. That's right. You know, we interviewed Michael Dunn, who's kind of the foremost authority on all things automotive in China. And he said that in North America, we kind of live on an island here with regard to the lack of Chinese EVs such as BYD and others, and that the rest of the world is getting hit incredibly hard because of the China influx of EVs and automobiles around the world. And many OEMs are hurting from that. Do you think we'll see these Chinese manufacturers coming into the U.S.?
Never. Absolutely not. In fact, we're going to reverse that paradigm. When you look at these trade deals with Canada, Mexico, EU, Korea, South Korea, Japan, Latin America, we want to create where China's at an island. China is going in one direction. The rest of the world is going in a different direction of customer choice. Look, everybody understood that EVs wasn't the future powertrain. It doesn't solve any particular problem. These cars are too heavy. They're too expensive to maintain long term. They wear out tires. You have a lot of mobility problems. So there's lots of other ways to make this happen. And we're going to isolate China. And we're also looking, by the way, Jim, of harmonizing standards. So when we make these deals with, like, for example, the EU, that a car that's certified for Ohio or Georgia is also compliant with France, Spain, or Germany. So car companies can make one car for the world of that one model, which will save money. It's all about driving down the cost of automobiles. And by the way, I'm a terrible salesman, by the way, because I forgot to tell you in the big, beautiful bill, my section got passed, which is you can deduct interest on your American-made auto loan. So that's a big deal on the line. So that's really, really nice. That should provide, a few $100s worth of relief to the average buyer.
That's right. That's right. Congratulations on that, by the way. And speaking of OEMs, what's your position on the letter that the Alliance for Automotive Innovation sent to the U.S. Justice Department, asking them to examine the dealership franchise and warranty state laws, and pretty much saying, hey, let's do away with them so that, OEMs, if they want to sell directly to consumers, they can do so? Idiotic.
That's the only thing and I hate to say words like that because the Alliance is their friends.
Sure.
Come on. What are you guys doing? Look what we've done for them. We got rid of the EV madness. We got rid of the CAFE fines, by the way. So they're not paying, last year, $2.7 billion at Tesla. That's gone. Zero now.
That's right.
Right? One car, we're harmonizing these standards. We're giving certainty, bonus depreciation, new factories. What they should focus on is the part of the business that they do really well. Let dealers do the part that they do really well. You'll see a response. I'll just say that to you. There'll be a response. That will be, the rule, the 10 times rule. There'll be a response. Look, it's nonsense. They need to, what they need to do, Jim? They need to do the opposite. They need to send a letter, public statement of support for the franchise system. Every single car company should post immediately a letter saying they're committed to the franchise system.
Agreed.
Look, these are partners. These are people who spend billions of dollars.
You know firsthand.
I know, right? And by the way, I always thought to myself, my customers will never buy a car if my toolbox is black instead of blue, right? But the car companies insist on black toolboxes and a certain kind of tile. And look, I get it's their brand, but these are somewhat irrational expenses. But we do because we're partners. Treat your dealers like partners. Don't treat them like people that you want to toss out. So I was disappointed. Look, Volkswagen with Scout, totally disgraceful. I think there's still time for Volkswagen to change course there and do the right thing.
That's right.
I think they should. Look, I was a Volkswagen dealer. Volkswagen dealers haven't exactly been minting money. Audi dealers have to do a tough
That's a good point.
Also, they need to do the right thing. Look, we don't want to have a war between car companies and car manufacturers
Right.
and dealers. We need to have harmony there, and I'm going to work really hard to make sure that happens.
Right, right. Now, my next on the list here is tariffs. Obviously, it's a very hot issue among OEMs, consumers, dealers, you name it. There's a lot of uncertainty there. Talk to us about that. What's the current state of the proposed tariffs, and are they influencing the pricing, consumer confidence? Give us an update from your perspective.
Total certainty. We're good.
Okay.
The tariff program is over. Everybody understands it. The UK's 10%. USMCA compliant cars have 0% tariffs. They get 3.75% of MSRP to offset parts that they have to bring into the US. Everywhere else is 15%. That's what it is. So if you're gonna sell a car in America, you can pay a 15% tariff, or you can make it here. That's the choice.
Right.
And I think that's a really positive thing for this country.
Yeah, and as you know, there's so many foreign nameplates that have manufacturing plants here in America, mostly in the Southeast. We've got a number right here in the home state of Georgia for CBT News. But so do you think this whole concept will really work, and we'll start to see more of those nameplates opening up factories and putting U.S. workers to work?
We're already seeing it. I wouldn't be surprised to see another German car company announce a U.S. plant. Hyundai Kia made a $21 billion commitment.
Yeah.
Toyota's continued to expand. Toyota's already been here and spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Honda was here early in the 80s. I think 90+% of their cars are made here in the U.S. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. Look, I'll give you a stat that's interesting. In Q1, 51% of cars sold in America were made in America, 51%. By the end of Q2, it got to 56%.
Wow.
And I think we can drive that number into the mid-60s. And that's great for our economy. I mean, these are good, high-paying jobs that make a difference in communities.
That's right. Speaking of the economy, the GDP grew by 3% in the last quarter. The stock market continues to just move along very nicely, setting different records along the way. Do you believe the momentum is sustainable? Talk to us about that.
Oh, no, I think it's much more. The Atlanta Fed, where you are, they're predicting 4.8% GDP growth in this next quarter. We haven't seen that since a long time ago. So I think that's more than sustainable. All these $1 trillion investment commitments are starting to kick in. Tax certainty has a big deal. Remember, the bonus depreciation was retroactive to January 20th. Companies now have certainty. You may not like the 15% tariff. By the way, we're going to work to put that in the legislation so it's permanent, but it's what it is. This is now certainty on tariffs, which you remember when I was on your broadcast earlier, I said by the end of summer, we'll be there. And here we are. We got it done early. And we got the bill done. We got regulatory relief, banking relief, housing relief.
Yep.
Inflation's under control. We're putting money in the pockets of working Americans. So look, the golden age has begun. It's a great time to be an American. It's a great time to be an auto dealer. And I would encourage the dealers to invest in their businesses and really invest in their employees, and they can do that with those Trump accounts. Put the $1,000 in, match the federal government. I think it'd send a hell of a signal.
That's right. Well, I have spoken many times to Mike Stanton, president of the NADA, and Cody Lusk, who's president of the AIADA, as you know, and they both give you thumbs up, and they feel as though it's great to have finally a voice in the U.S. Senate that was a car dealer and feels the same pain that so many of our viewers feel every day, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's one more piece of the puzzle. The last most important, the cherry on top of the whole deal.
Yeah.
We got to get Jerome Powell the heck out of the Federal Reserve. He's got to lower interest rates.
Yeah.
It'll make a huge, you talk to dealers, right? What is the impact of lowering interest rates? My God.
It's huge.
Can you imagine what a 100 basis point drop in rates would mean to your floor plan? What it mean to car loans, the ability to sell vehicles? I mean, this is a no-brainer. This guy is a complete hack. And look, he'd gone either way in May.
Yeah.
I'd like him to be out of there today. But look, the guy is who he is. But hopefully we'll get some interest rate relief coming up, and that'll make a big difference.
He might be trying to get his hands around those overruns on the construction. You know,
$3.1 billion to renovate 3 buildings, a $1.5 billion over. Imagine, I'll put it in dealer terms because those numbers don't make
dealer
sense.
terms, right?
You're building a $15 million new Porsche dealership, and it ended up costing you $31 billion because you didn't pay any attention to the project, not because the manufacturer added requirements. So it's the same thing, but with a lot more zeros.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no question about it. What do you want to leave the dealers with today in terms of what do you want them to know about the balance of the year and having everything that's going on there in DC.
I'll end where I started my interview with you last time. Dealers are optimists. Never, ever stop being optimists. I said, look, all this is going to be done. There was doom and gloom all over the industry. The SAR is going to crash and the economy is going to be a mess. And look, car prices have actually come down.
Right.
Record profits this year for most of the car dealers I talked to, and it's just begun. It's going to be a great quarter. This is EV sell-a-thon quarter. Then the fourth quarter is going to have a natural burst to it because it's the end of year. Lots of pent-up demand. Just control the variables you control.
Yeah.
Get your people to focus on the things they control. That was my message to all of your dealers last time. Don't pay attention to all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Focus on the business. Focus on the blocking and tackling. Take remarkable care of your people. Did I mention the Trump accounts? To put $1,000 in your employees' Trump accounts. Announce that. Let's have the car dealer world be the ones that lead on that. And if you live in Georgia, if you live in New Hampshire, we're looking for great candidates in those Senate races. And if you live in any of the other states I didn't mention, we need great candidates. Step up. The water's warm. Jump on in. It's great. It's an honor to serve the United States Senate. You know, my colleagues say, you know, if you keep at this, the Senate's going to become NADA. I said, oh my God, it would be remarkable things that we could do if I had more car dealers here. So think about serving this country. And if you can't, then help the people who are here. So shameless.
I think we got some great candidates that are listening to you right now out there. You know what I mean? That might be in the automotive sector.
Moreno.org. Did I mention teammoreno.org?
Hey, that's right. That's right. Because we need you for another term. We can't let this guy out of the Senate for sure. So, you know, there's no better investment than having Bernie Moreno there fighting the good fight for everybody, but specifically for dealers. To have somebody in there doing what you're doing and understanding what dealers are going through, and OEMs for that matter, is just huge. So on behalf of the industry, thank you for all that you're doing. Bernie Moreno, U.S. Senator, thank you so much for all your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.